Sunny Melendrez, Sunny Radio, sunnyradio.com.
Hello, it's Sunny Melendrez, and welcome. You have found it, the positive side of the radio spectrum. You're here. I can't believe it. This is going to be great. You see, every week we strive to bring you entertainment and inspiration through storytelling, fascinating guests, exclusive celebrity interviews, and sometimes live performances, and it's all delivered with lots of enthusiasm. So I cannot wait for you to meet my special guest, Stephanie Scheller. Boy, what a dynamo. You're going to hear all about the Grow Retreat. It's phenomenal. But first, we're brought to you by Ideal Precision Roofing, serving San Antonio, Bernie, and the Texas Hill Country. Now, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, do you have an ideal roof on your house? And the answer is yes. As a matter of fact, as a result of, I guess it was a couple of years ago, the hail damage, and so many of the homes in our area all didn't even realize that we had hail damage. But once I got the inspection done by Ideal, they got the ball rolling, worked with the insurance company. I tell you, it was so seamless. It was fantastic. And now we have a brand new roof. And you can too, especially if possibly you suspect that you might have hail damage from recent storms or even a couple of years ago. Make sure that you call Ideal Precision Roofing. They are an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor. That's a designation given to only 1% of the roofers in America. So you're dealing with the absolute best. And I'll tell you something, you will not be disappointed. In fact, you'll be very proud to look up at that roof and realize that you did the right thing. Call Ideal today at 210-485-1553. That's 210-485-1553 for Ideal Precision Roofing. Or visit idealprecisionroofing.com and tell them that Sunny Melendrez sent you. And now, on with the show.
Sunny Radio, sunnyradio.com.
Stephanie Scheller is a speaker, event organizer, trainer, and so much more. In fact, you might even call her a Renaissance woman. She does it all. This is actually Stephanie's second appearance on the show, and much has happened since the first. So, a very big welcome to the one, the only Stephanie Scheller.
Thank you so much, Sunny. I am so excited to be here.
You know, it's amazing how our adventure started with you being a member of the audience. Well, actually, before that, I actually coached you.
Yes. Well, and I actually, I don't know if you know the part of the story where I stalked you a little bit. I probably didn't tell you that part. I was probably trying to.
No, please do.
Before you and I met, I had started looking for a public speaking coach because I do quite a bit of public speaking. I did even back then, and was trying to find a public speaking coach. And I really wanted someone local who could come to see me speak and not just like watch videos, but experience it. And I was talking with a couple of people, and they said, well, have you thought about Sunny Melendrez? And I said, I'm not sure who that is. Tell me. And so they started telling me about who this Sunny Melendrez, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Well, there's no way he's San Antonio. I want someone local. And they were like, no, he's San Antonio. And I was like, are you kidding? So I started looking you up and talking. And of course, everyone I talked to, I'm like, I'm thinking about Sunny Melendrez oh my God, if you could give Sunny, oh, Sunny's so good. Everyone I'm talking to, I'm like, I've got to find a way to meet this guy. And I finally just threw it out to a network of mine. I was like, I'm going to the TEDx talk that he's emceeing because I'm hoping to meet him. But if anyone this is my networking group, right? If any of you guys know him, please let me know. And one of the guys goes, I do. And I was like, oh my God. So I go to the TEDx talk to meet you with him planning to introduce me to you next week. So it was quite elaborately planned out.
I was emceeing the TEDx talk. And then once we started working together, as I was coaching you, you posted on, I guess it was Twitter. Mm-hmm. You said, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
the day of the TEDx event, and you said something like, really pumped, get ready to go, or something or
Yeah,
other.
TEDx this morning, so excited. Like it
Yeah,
was
and
Jupiter. I
so
woke up way early. It was crazy.
when I warmed up the audience, I said that. I said, "Is Stephanie Schiller here?" And I read your tweet. So then, 1 year later, I once again was the MC, and now you were one of the speakers.
Yeah.
And it was magical because I said, "How many of you in the audience today have visions of maybe possibly being on this stage one day?" And several of them raised their hands. Well, there was someone in the audience a year ago. Her name is Stephanie Schiller, and she is about to come out on our stage. And it erupted in big applause, and you did your wonderful TEDx talk.
Oh man, yeah, I remember that, and I remember it was crazy. Like when I decided I wanted you as my speaking coach, I had no idea that it would kind of open the world of TEDx talks. And of course, standing on the red dot on the TEDx stage is like a dream come true for so many speakers. To have gotten to do that only 2 years into my speaking career still feels surreal a little bit. Like I look back and I'm like, wow, that was like a really aggressive goal to have accomplished it that early. I mean, that was cool. And I had no idea when I was like, yeah, this Sunny Melendrez guy sounds great, that was going to lead there. And then, I mean, to hear now too, today, or you have another radio show, because of course, can't keep you off the radio. Like that would be like,
no, once a broadcaster, always a broadcaster. Yeah. So let's talk about what transformed after you did your TEDx talk, and you came up with, you actually had another dream, and that was the Grow Retreat, the Grow Disrupt. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. When I did my TEDx talk, I was in the midst of a bit of a, I don't know what to call it, because it felt like a midlife crisis, except I was 26 years old. So I really hope that's not midlife. But when I did that talk, I was in the midst of this kind of not sure where to go from here. So some background for our listeners here. I had started a sales training business in 2014, primarily because the work environment that I was participating in at the time was, it was toxic. It was incredibly toxic. I needed out. So I started a sales training business because I'm really good at sales. I've always been really good at sales. It was something I thrived at work. And so when the opportunity arose and I had a mentor who said, I'll teach you how to be a sales trainer, I said, great. So I started the sales training business. We built it up very quickly. By the time you and I met, 2015, 2016, it was already the largest, most active sales training practice in Central Texas. And then I had this like, I don't want to be a sales trainer moment. And there was this huge, like, I've built this business because I just kind of like had the goal, head down, went for it. And then I realized I didn't want to be like, people would be like, this is Stephanie, she's a sales trainer. And I would cringe. Like, I didn't want to, there's nothing wrong with being a sales trainer.
Right.
But it wasn't what I wanted. It didn't leave me fulfilled. And so I went through this year. 2016 was a year of trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And someone finally commented. So I was experimenting, right? I built up a multi-six-figure coaching practice. I had these masterminds that I ran. I was trying to figure out, what do I want to be? And at one of the masterminds, someone said, Stephanie, this room is really valuable. Why you have all this experience with running events? Why don't, because that's what we did. We put on like sales training events, right?
Right.
Why don't you take all of that and put on events for small business owners? But instead of you being the speaker, you find speakers. And it was like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this? Like, this is brilliant. And so at the time, that was towards the end of 2016, we were getting ready for the very first Grow Retreat. And I had no idea what that was going to turn into and blow up into. But wow, I look back at that first Grow Retreat. You were our closing keynote, which you were spectacular. Still I probably shouldn't say my favorite keynote, because I'm sure that's going to get me in trouble with another speaker. But you're definitely the keynote I remember the most.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I look at that, and now I look at now 5 years, 6 years later, and I'm like, wow, look at what has grown out of that.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know that someone is listening and thinking about some grandiose idea they have and how they get a lot of pushback from different people, including your own family. Did you get any kind of a pushback like that?
My family, I'm really grateful in that my family's always been super supportive. There was definitely some fear moments from family members when they found out that, one, I was starting my own business, and two, I was going into sales training, because salespeople are like the devil incarnate, right? Stephanie, I can't believe you're enabling.
Yes, I had heard that.
Yeah, I had to explain. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing the slimy sales tactics here.
Yeah.
Not my thing. But what I think was interesting was that most of the pushback I came when I made this transition to being an event producer really came from a lot of people in my network who, one, pushed back on, Stephanie, you have 2 years of being a sales trainer. Don't throw this away. You're known as a sales trainer. This is what you're best at. Like, why are you trying to, like, there was more pushback and kind of, I will never forget, there were certain people that I really thought, like, based on who they were as business people, would be so excited about these events. And I just remember them, the complete disengagement, that they just like cut me off. Like they stopped returning phone calls, the texts, emails. They wanted nothing to do with me. And it was tough because, of course, there was part of me who had banked on, putting on an event that at the time was going to cost almost 20 times what any of our other events had cost to put on. I banked on, these people that I built this event for, in all actuality, like they were the epitome of the business owner that I built the event around. Like, this is going to be perfect for this person. And then for them to just completely be like, I just don't think you need to be changed. Like, your business model works. And then like cutting me off, like that was really hard. And I didn't even process through it at first. I was so busy trying to figure out how not to lose money running events.
As a business owner who comes to the event and leaves, what do you want them to leave with? And what do you want them to do once they experience your event?
Okay, so that's two very, very big questions. The first question there is, what do you want them to leave with? The other one is, what do you want them to do? So what do I want them to do is a little bit easier of a question. I want them to take the information they learned from the speakers and actually apply it. Our speakers are very carefully selected to make sure they know what they're talking about. They have done this multiple times, and they're going to walk you through step by step implementing what they just talked about. So when Charmaine Hammond gets on stage and talks about how she has literally generated millions and millions of dollars in sponsorship in kind, where IKEA took the commercial for their movie and played their commercial at the front of every IKEA store in Canada, and WestJet plays their movie at the start of every flight across Canada. Like, those are major, major connections for someone to get as a small business. And so she will then not just say, here's this cool idea, but now let me show you step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then also, we're going to do a follow-up in 30 days for those of you guys who got stuck on step 3 or 4 to get you moving again. That's what I want them to do. I want them to take it and implement it. Now, I think of the two questions you asked, the more important one was, what do I want them to take away? Because what I have learned about small business owners, this is my soapbox moment, okay? What I have learned about small business owners is that we do not give ourselves enough credit. When money is tight, who's the first paycheck to get cut? Ours. When there's extra work to do, who's the first person to stay late and work? We are. When an employee needs something, who's the first person to step up and take care of them? We are. When a customer needs something, who's the first person to step up? We do not give ourselves enough credit for the impact we make. And I love telling the story of this lady, this small business owner back in 2011, who changed my life just by how she managed her team. And I never even got to meet her. But the way she managed her team changed how they interacted with me. And so we make this impact as a small business owner we don't even recognize. And so what I want small business owners to walk away from this event with is a glimpse of how truly incredible and powerful they are. I want them to see themselves through my eyes.
This year, your theme is to connect. You have this wonderful way of connecting not only the dots between training and your business, but also with music.
Yes.
Tell me about that, because I see your violin in the background there.
I do. I actually have two violins. I have the one in the background, which I staged just for this, although I don't know if anyone's going to see the video. So we got Rosalita in the background. And then right here, I have Honey. Honey is my acoustic violin. I know. Hello.
Beautiful.
And what I found is something really interesting. So the funniest thing to me, I've been playing violin off and on since high school, mostly off. But then in 2019, I realized that my whole life revolved around the business. And so I wanted a hobby that had nothing to do with the business. So I pick up the violin again. And then like a year later, realized I'm learning as much from the violin about being a business owner as I am anything else. So I started using the violin when I talk to and work with small business owners, and I'll use it to point out, one thing I love talking about is how you can't apply the same pressure across all employees or marketing methods, right? So if we talk about employees, every employee is going to need a different way to communicate. Just like if I take the same level of pressure on the E string, okay, if I want to make the E string sing, I have to use one level of pressure. But if I apply that same level of pressure on the G string, right, it's almost not even there. You almost can't hear it.
Yeah.
And so I found when I start using the violin to make these points, it sinks in. And so, of course, I had to find a really fun way to talk about how to create connection with the violin, because that just had to happen, right? So
right.
One of the things I started talking about, and it was kind of funny because I started learning this song earlier this year, and my instructor gave me the song. She goes, "Oh, you're going to love this song." And so I start learning it, and it's called Humoresque by Dvorak. And I was so disillusioned with this. I went to her, I was like, I don't know that I want to learn this song. This song was actually written for the piano. It was adapted for the violin as part of a lesson, like a student series. So most of the music playing this song is a bunch of students. So if you look this song up on YouTube, most of it sounds terrible. So I listened to all these guys, and then I'm playing it, and I go to her at one point because this song is really, really kind of fun. So you have this really awesome opening section here that's just kind of I almost imagine like Lord of the Rings, like the Hobbits, right? Mm-hmm. Where they have this kind of lighthearted, just right? And then it goes from there into this very beautiful, like if when the hobbits get to Rivendell, right? And you go to, and so when I'm learning this song, because this song, one of the cool things about the song is that it goes through all these different chunks, right? You have this really moody, intense piece that comes next, and then it kind of circles back around. And so I go to my instructor, and I'm like, I'm frustrated learning this song because I feel like I'm playing like 3 different songs, right? Dun da dun da dun da dun ba da 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 da, and like they just don't connect. And she laughs and she listens to me play, and she goes, "You know why?" So there's 2 things. If you want this song to really connect with your listener, there's 2 things we have to do. And I said, "Okay, what are they?" She goes, "First of all, your tempo." She goes, "You're playing this piece. The first section, you're like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And the second piece, you're like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. She's like, "It's 2 different songs. Of course it feels disconnected." And I just had to laugh. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so basic, right? But what was really interesting to me as a business owner, right? Again, going to the violin keeps teaching me all these things about business. was as I started like digging into the tempo, I learned there's two pieces that make the tempo work, right? There's the beat. And this is what we end up focusing on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's the space between the beat. And the space between the beat is what's more important. See, if I want my song to connect, I have to be consistent with my tempo, which means I have to zero in not just on the driving portion, right?
Yeah.
But also on the space, the space. I have to zero in on taking time for me. I have to zero in on creating time for my team to connect, to get creative. But I can't get caught there. And that's the key, because if my tempo starts changing, I start losing the audience, right? If my tempo as a violinist starts changing, I start losing the audience. If my tempo as a business owner starts changing, I start losing my team, my customers, my vendors, and eventually myself.
So how would that now sound with that wonderful
So
tempo?
if we pull the whole connection piece together here.
Wow. That was fantastic. Yeah, you're the first violin solo that we've ever had on the show.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Awesome.
Well, let's mention when the Grow Retreat is going to happen, because it's right around the corner.
Yes. So you can learn more at www.thegrowretreat.com. Now, here's the thing. If you were listening and you're like, oh my gosh, 13th, 14th, there's no way I can make it. You can get on the wait list. We will actually have tickets available. 220. Like I said, we'll have a lot of tickets sold by the end of January. So we will have a wait list option available on the website. If you can't make it to this year's, if you really are feeling the pull and you're like, oh my gosh, I really need to be in the room, go to the website, www.thegrowretreat.com, and fill out the request for an interview. If we have seats available, so sometimes we have someone who has to back out last minute for personal reasons or whatever. So every so often, usually we'll have, a couple of seats available that we could plug people in. Not always guaranteed to happen, but if it does, fill out the form and we will reach out to you and get you set up with a ticket if there are.
This is January 13th and 14th in San Antonio at...
Yep. Oh, we can't tell. It's a secret. You have to be registered to find out, but it is downtown. It's in downtown San Antonio. It is.
I'm glad you told me, because I'm going to be the MC.
We need you to show up, Sonny.
Yes.
But yes, so it's we never reveal the location until the event is over. So if you are desperately curious to find out what the location is, you'll have to try and get one of those last tickets.
Stephanie Scheller, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in just a few days, and I can't tell you how proud I am of all of your progress and your incredible, unstoppable enthusiasm. It's so infectious.
That means so much to me to hear, Sonny. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you.
Well, there you go. That's my visit with the dynamic and multi-talented Stephanie Scheller. You'll find out more about the Grow Retreat and how you can get involved, as well as the links to all of her social media sites, website, etc., all by visiting sunnyradio.com/show. That's sunnyradio.com/show. Until next time, I'm Sonny Melendrez, and I leave you with the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Go put your creed into deed." Bye-bye.